but putting that heat source in your coop could be fatal for your chickens. I figured this is the best weather to film this video for you guys today. I want to explain why we stay away from heat lamps for our chickens and why you should consider that for yourselves. I don't think the ladies in Caesar are really gonna be enjoying the outdoor weather today. And I'm right, it's a little after 12 right now, and no chickens have left the coop this morning, but we have had 2 extreme cold days here, yesterday and today, where wind chills have made it feel about -30 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. It's cold. When all this white stuff is all around, and especially on the ground, the chickens do not want to come out and play. And the wind is definitely making it even worse for them. So normally we use this little hut here. This has their food and water. Put a whole bunch of wrapping all around it, as you can see, and it blocks a lot of the wind. But the problem is the distance from here to there is too much of a walk, especially with the snow and the wind right now, that the chickens are not gonna make it here for their food and water. So sometimes you just have to listen to what your animals need. These chickens are not gonna come out. So we'll bring the food to them. On days like today, I will bring them their food and water, put it inside the coop. I'm not a big fan of doing that normally, but if they're not leaving this thing, I'm not gonna hold them out from having food and water. It's not worth them risking coming out here looking for their food and water, getting wet, cold, having that air hit them, and it being possibly very fatal for them. All right, everybody, enjoy your food and water. So let's talk about why even in weather this cold, we're not gonna throw a heat lamp in here for these chickens. Sorry, Rosie. We're gonna close the door though so you don't get cold. There's 2 major reasons I would say to avoid heat lamps, or any heat source for that matter, inside your coop for your chickens this winter. The first reason, and the one that's probably the most widely known, is that if you're gonna put any kind of electricity source inside your coop, whether it be any kind of heat source, but for heat lamps especially, if that was to fall down, it's short, something happened to it, then you have a chance for your coop to catch on fire. If I was really good at like special effects on my videos and everything, then you would probably see something like my coop catching on fire right now, like this. Sorry, I'm not really that good at that. But the second reason, these chickens, once they start to get used to a heat source, so once you put that in there for them and they start to adjust, they start to use it, as soon as that doesn't work, turns off, your chickens can go into a shock. They were so used to having that extra heat source that for when they don't have it, they're really gonna get cold. Think of it like going into a hot tub, and as soon as you get out of that hot tub and you feel that cold air, or go into a swimming pool afterwards, how cold that is, it's just such a big change of temperature. Now that I told you why you don't want to, you're probably wondering, if you don't do that, what are some things you can do to keep these chickens warm in this kind of temperature? And there's a few things. Let me get to one of the most basic points, and that's that chickens, they have a really, really high internal temperature for their body, which actually helps them in these kind of weathers, and they do have the feathers that help protect them as well. It is not a foolproof thing. Just because they have that and they have high body temperatures, it doesn't mean they can survive any kind of weather. This is super cold. Obviously why they're not leaving this coop. Don't be afraid that they can't manage it. And there is certain chicken breeds that do better than others in cold weather. So if you're in this kind of weather, look into that for yourselves. The second thing you can do is the deep litter method for your chicken coop. Especially if you have a stationary coop like we do here. What you do is, instead of changing your coop out completely every single time you go to put new bedding in it, that new bedding you just throw right on top of the old bedding for your coop, and their poop will start to compost under that new bedding, and that will get warmer and warmer, and that will actually warm your coop and help insulate it so that your chickens can stay nice and warm inside it. The second thing is just having a nice secure coop. You want to make sure there is no leaks for like really big drafts to come through. Like we have our chicken coop door here, but that's okay because you still want them to walk in and out, and you still want air to travel in, but you don't want any really big leaks anywhere. We'll have a window here, and that's gonna allow air to circulate as well. But our coop, for the main part, is well secure, and it is meant to block all that really strong draft of winds so that they stay nice and warm. But it is important that although it's nice and secure, that you have some kind of air circulating in and out. Chickens' respiratory systems are not that good, so for them to be cooped up in their own poop and it just smelling and them breathing that in, the chickens can actually get really sick. So you want air to go in and out of your coop still to help circulate the air, so that it's not just their dirty air that they're breathing in nonstop. Another thing you can do, and we've been doing this for them, is upping their protein and giving them some extra snacks during the wintertime. Just like us, during the wintertime, we need some more fat and some more protein to keep our bodies nice and warm during really cold temperatures. And that doesn't change just because these are chickens. So we've actually been giving our chickens a meat bird feeder, which is about 22% protein right now, and mixing it in with some of our other feeding options. And of course, coming out here and giving them some extra grubs during this cold weather, because we really want them to stay nice and warm when the weather is like this. I hope you guys appreciate this video, because my fingers are starting to go numb, but I feel like I still have a few more points that I want to say, but I'm getting really cold being out here right now. So I hope someone gets some use out of this. Another thing that you could do, we're not doing it right now, but we did consider it, is get some things of straw and put them all on the outside of the coop to help insulate it, so that any kind of air that might leak through to them, it just kind of secures the coop a little more. So another little tip you could try. If you're really big about wanting your chickens to get outside just a little bit during these really cold times, and you want them to just be in that fresh air so that the respiratory systems don't get too messed up, because we fear that. We fear that them being inside their coop for too long will definitely not be good for them. I think my beard is freezing. But them being inside their coop for too long definitely is not good for them. So we want to encourage them just to get out a little bit. So what we do is we'll shovel a path inside the snow to get any of the big chunks of snow out of the way. And then we can throw straw down in the area where we did that, just to encourage them to come out on there, so then they don't have to step in the really deep snow. Also, they can just get encouraged to get out a little bit. They are in there for so long on these cold days that them getting outside just for a little bit, and trust me, they'll know. They won't be out here longer than they need to. They'll go back to their coop as soon as they get too cold. They know where the shelter is, they know how to stay warm. Chickens are a lot smarter than they look. So don't go thinking that your chickens, because it's so cold, that they need that heater, that heat source, heat lamp inside this coop. They can do perfectly fine without it. Will they be a little cold? Will they struggle a little bit during that time? Yes. But it's not to an extent that they would be fatally hurt from it, as long as you follow the few things about securing your coop from really big drafts and things like that. But putting the heat source in your coop and having that possibly cause your coop to catch on fire, or causing them to rely on it too much to a part that when it shuts off, that they go into a complete shock, those are two things that could be fatal for your chickens. So I'm telling you guys here today, keep careful, make sure you take the best care that you can of your animals. I know that's all we're trying to do. But please consider these words that I said today. If you are using the heat source, just make sure that you're using it responsibly for your chickens, and make sure that you know that it's working at all times and that it's not gonna cause a fire for your coop. How's it going, Alfredo? You hanging out in the coop? You came outside. Does it feel good to get fresh air? No? I guess it doesn't feel good for the fresh air. You guys have a great day and a better tomorrow, and of course, we'll see you guys in the next one. See you later.